Hi, I'm Whitney Espich, the CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I hope you enjoy this digital production created for alumni and friends like you. Hello and welcome. I'm Whitney Espich. I'm the CEO of the MIT Alumni Association, and I'm so glad to see so many alumni, families, and friends with us tonight for the Brass Rat Melt tradition. A special shout out goes to the sophomores, class of 2023, for all of your hard work with the Ring Committee. The Brass Rat tradition is something we all cherish, a hard-earned and well-deserved symbol of MIT that connects generations of alumni and alumnae across the years. It's a symbol of shared values, of friendship, and of accomplishment that flashes on hands around the world. In recent years, the Alumni Association has invited alumni and friends to contribute to the historic meaning of the brass rat rings, as well as to philanthropically help bring down the cost of brass rats for our students. I'm happy to report that members of the community have stepped forward in a celebratory and supportive spirit, and we have tonight's event to show for it. In that context, I want to offer a warm welcome to our Emma Rogers Society members. The Society is a group of widows and widowers of MIT alumni, faculty, and staff who have chosen to keep the MIT community part of their families. Several of the Emma Rogers Society members have donated their late spouse's rings to the Brass Rat Melt Project. If we were together, I know there would be a big round of warm applause for this community and for their loyalty to MIT. You've connected your MIT history to MIT's future through today's students, and we thank you. I would like to now introduce the alumni founder of the Brass Rat Melt Project, Stephen Fantone, a 1974 alumnus in courses 6 and 15, and the founder and CEO of Opticos. Stephen is an avid collector of brass rats. Among his collection of some 30 or more rings are some from his fellow alumni family members. His father, Joseph, 48, and son, Stephen, 05, and Dennis, 09, are all ring holders. His mother, Jeanette, who also is a founding member of the Emma Rogers Society, wore Joseph's rat when they were courting. Stephen received his father's brass rat at his passing and brought this idea for a brass rat legacy project to the Alumni Association. And today we have that exact project. Thank you, Stephen, for your work on this meaningful tradition. And now I hand the Zoom platform over to you to tell us more about this brass rat melt effort. Stephen.
Thank you, Whitney. And thank you, fellow alumni, Emma Rogers Society members, students, most poignantly, those in the class of 2023, and the hardworking Ring Committee. The brass rat is a symbol of pride and accomplishment for all of us. It connects our time at the Institute with the next generation of students. Speaking for myself and my family, each ring has a story associated with it. As I grew up, I saw the brass rat on my father's hand, and I aspired that maybe someday I'd be lucky enough to be able to wear a brass rat. I've been extraordinarily blessed in that I also have two children that are alums of the Institute, and I have to say it was with some pride that I was able to see a brass rat on each of their hands. Brass rat is a singularity for each student that gets one. It's a singularity that ties their life to the rest of us, the rest of the alumni community. It joins us on our life's journey from Killian Court to our careers and lives out there in the world. And it's a point of connection with other alumni in our life travels. A few years ago, I visited West Point, and as part of my tour there, I went through their museum and I saw a display about their program in which alumni donated rings that were incorporated into the next round of rings for graduating students. This contributed to their strong feeling of being part of a long gray line. And I thought, that's something that really does apply at MIT, because we are all bonded together by a shared experience, that of an undergraduate degree from MIT. I knew this would resonate with the MIT community, and so I contacted the Ring Committee in the summer of 2019 and the Alumni Association. And they really did understand the potential of this to pull us together as a community. And we were able to raise funds for that year. We were able to get initial donations. I feel it's important, and I hope you do too, that everyone has access to their class's brass rat, regardless of their financial circumstances. In year one, we raised over $10,000 and helped 60 students with their rings. We're continuing that in the student philanthropy program at MIT through a crowdfunding campaign to raise funds in a financial assistance program. Tonight, you'll see the donated rings received to date melted into the ore that will make the next generation of rings. In a moment, you'll see the brass rat melting process from ring maker Herff Jones, and then hear from alumni in the ring committee, as well as representatives from MIT's ARM Coalition for receiving that behind the scenes tour of the making of the new brass rats. After that, we'll have a live Q&A with students, alumni, and campus members involved in the project. But first, let's take a look at the brass rat manufacturing process from Herff Jones. Over to you.
Hello, welcome to Herff Jones in Warwick, Rhode Island. My name is Jeff Quirk. I am the MIT account representative. First off, I wanted to thank you all for joining us today, but also thank you to MIT's Alumni Office, MIT Alumni, and MIT's Ring Committee, class of 2023. And most importantly, I'd like to thank all the donors and the donors' families for their donations of the rings. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ryan Powers, who's going to explain the ring melt process. Thank you.
Class of 2023, we wanted to thank you for allowing us to present to you the Legacy Melt today from Herff Jones in Warwick. Let me take you through exactly how we conduct the melt. We take those beautiful donated rings from Legacy alumni and we place them into the crucible and finally our casting furnace. We'll melt those rings down at 1900 degrees Fahrenheit until they are molten metal. Once we get that molten metal to a point where it's ready to pour, we will then take that material and pour it directly into one of our crucibles here, which will let cool for a period of time and hopefully be able to break out an ingot of that material and all those legacy rings that were just melted. Now, with this bar, what we'll actually do is we'll send it out for refining, make sure that we're taking all the impurities out of that material, and then we'll take it and mix that in with the same exact precious metals that will be casted into the 2023 rings this year. So it's an exciting tradition that we started about a year ago. Love the fact that we've had great adoption, and it's something that our employees cherish and love to do each year. So thank you very much, and congratulations on receiving your brass rats.
William Rogers Stern, class of 1940, master's in 1941. George Clifford, class of 1948. Ingram Lee II, class of 1949. Gerald Lascelles, class of 1950. Victor Horlick, class of 1952. Joseph Gao, class of 1958. Patrick McGovern, class of 1959. Henry Lieberman, class of 1961. Richard Garrett Helmig, class of 1962. Leo Frank Cardillo, class of 1964. Richard Blanchard, class of 1968. Donald Rosenfeld, class of 1969, master's in 1971. Peter Balbus, class of 1982. Douglas Milbury, class of 1973.
Hi, my name's Ananya, and I'm the chair of the class of 2023's Ring Committee. And today I'm super excited to be talking to you a little bit more about the design and everything that goes behind it. So I can't divulge too many details about our ring because we are going to officially divulge everything on April 19th at our virtual premiere, which I strongly recommend everyone attends because it's open to the public and we would love to see everyone's participation. But I do want to address that this year's ring design came with the strong need to address many different things that have affected the class of 2023. I think it's very obvious that the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted every college student's life, and the members of the class of 2023 are no different. We entered this campus as freshmen, and we will likely come back to it as juniors, which left this 1.5 year gap of us feeling alienated from our friends, our communities, and our communities at MIT are in so many ways our family. And while we wanted to pay homage to all the difficulties that this has created, we also wanted to ensure that as Ring Committee, we were acknowledging the incredible perseverance, strength, solidarity, and unity of our class in the wake of everything that's gone on. Whether that's late night Zoom calls or Among Us games, Discord servers, Minecraft campuses, we have done so much to stay connected to the people that we love and to everything that we love about MIT. And we wanted to make sure that that was a central part of the design. I'm so proud of the design that we've created. I'm so proud of our Ring Committee, and I'm so proud of our class. I think that our design, although I'm a little biased, will likely go down in Brass Rat history as one of the most special ones that we've seen yet. And before I, hop off of this video, I do want to say that I'm so incredibly grateful to every single member of the Alumni Association and all of the alumni that encompass it. Thank you so much for donating of your time when you sent in videos with your Brass Rats, for donating your Brass Rats, and for being so generous with our financial aid program to make sure that every single member of the class of 2023 is able to have access to a ring. We really appreciate it, and it's because of you, the legacy that you leave behind, and the enthusiasm that you have for the Brass Rat that we feel so excited to receive ours so soon. Thank you so much for everything. We are forever grateful.
Hi, my name is Thajal, and I'm a sophomore majoring in computer science and engineering. And this year I am the co-delivery chair on RingCom. This year we had to conduct everything virtually due to COVID-19, but our committee jumped right in without hesitation. We continued to host study breaks to get input from our class and worked 4 hours a week on Zoom screen sharing to continuously design and redesign the perfect ring. And we're excited to show you what we've been working on in April.
Hi everyone, my name is Brady Sullivan. I'm course 2A6 and I'm one of this year's co-delivery chairs for RingCom. Being on RingCom in the last year has been a crazy yet incredibly rewarding experience. We've had to virtualize the efforts to design the Brass Rat, but through it all, we've gotten to meet so many of our peers in the class of 2023 who have constantly proven to us just how resilient our class is. They've also reminded us of how special of a symbol the Brass Rat is to the MIT experience. Very soon, the class of 2023 will join the ranks of thousands of MIT upperclassmen and alumni who have rightfully earned their own Brass Rat.
Hi, my name is Rachana, and I'm a math major. This year, I am a treasurer and one of the artists on RingCom. We're really grateful for the generous donations that the alumni have given us so that every member of our class is able to participate in this invaluable tradition that is the Brass Rat ceremony.
Hi, my name is Matt Jens. I'm studying course 2A6 and I'm the vice chair of Ring Committee. I just want to say thank you to MIT's Alumni Association and all of its generous donors. Your gift will go such a long ways in helping all of our members of our class get a Brass Rat, a symbol representing their time at MIT and the memories that we all share. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mary Skolnick, and I am one of the Deans in Student Support Services and also one of the co-chairs of the ARM Coalition. I want to offer a sincere thanks to Stephen Fantone, the MIT Alumni Association, and all of the alumni and friends of MIT who have contributed to ensuring that this treasured part of the MIT experience is accessible financially to all who earn it. For those who might not know, here at MIT, we have something called the ARM Coalition. ARM stands for Accessing Resources at MIT. The goal of the ARM Coalition is to offer support to all undergraduate and graduate students at MIT who are facing financial challenges. This means providing resources to help alleviate the costs of everything from basic living expenses to academic materials, to navigating travel, and to affording parts of the MIT student experience, like the Brass Rat. The need for Brass Rats to be of the highest quality and most durable means that, unfortunately, they are not inexpensive. At the same time, MIT wants to make them accessible to all, regardless of financial circumstances. The ARM Coalition has been proud to partner with our students, including the Ring committees and alumni like Stephen, to bolster the support for students seeking to obtain the Brass Rats. In fact, since the Brass Rat Subsidy Program was established, the percentage of sophomores obtaining Brass Rats has gone from 80% to up to 98%. This year, the ARM Coalition and the class of 2023 have set a goal to issue a stipend for the most cost-effective ring option, the Ultrium, to ensure that the most students possible have access to it. Before we head back over to Herff Jones for the Melton Tour, I want to say thank you again to all who have donated your rings or made gifts in support of the Brass Rat Subsidy Program. I'm also putting in a plug for our crowdsourcing campaign with details below where you can make a gift directly to this effort. Thank you and congratulations, class of 2023.
When you think about MIT, most people immediately jump into science and engineering, but there's a lot of things that make MIT unique, and probably the most iconic and amazing tradition that MIT has is the Brass Rat. The Brass Rat is a class ring that MIT gives to its students at the end of their sophomore year, and they wear it for the rest of their lives.
The tradition of the Brass Rat actually began back in 1929, and there has been a committee of 12 students chosen every year to design the Brass Rat ever since.
That's one of the unique things about MIT is that students are the ones who actually are making the class ring and making a legacy for their class. It's not an MIT administration or it's not a third-party vendor. It's students of the class that decide what goes on the ring.
The committee is initially selected in the spring of their freshman year from the committee that precedes them, and their mission starts right away. In addition to being artists, they need to be business-minded people to sell the rings. They need to be marketing and event planners because we're also responsible for premiering and delivering the ring to our class.
There are very few student-run committee programs where the ring is redesigned year to year. Herff Jones has the privilege in working with the MIT Student Committee in redesigning every single aspect of the ring from top to bottom, from the designing process, manufacturing, into the delivery of the actual ring.
Yeah, we design a lot of different rings for many different schools across the country, but this one is interesting specifically because there's so many different parts that are customizable.
Right. Yeah.
And every year there's 6 different parts of the ring that change. There's the bezel, there's the skylines, there's the 2 shanks, and there's the hacker's map or the arbor in the inside of the ring.
It's tough to take something from the ideation stage like that has so much detail and so much symbolism to something that's manufacturable. So it's a unique opportunity for us to take a look at our capabilities and stretch the limit on those capabilities. It is custom one-for-one manufacturing where a craftsperson is sitting down at a station, actually hand using tools, wheels, and motors to achieve that look. So how light do we need to go? What are the best compounds to be using? What are the best wheels and abrasives so that we can really get that detail out in the finished product and have all of that available for the students?
In addition to designing the class ring, we put a lot of time and effort into the events surrounding the class ring.
One of those events is Premiere.
which is essentially this giant theatrical event where the class is shown the ring for the first time, and it takes place in the biggest performance space on campus, and it's just a really great event because it is one of the few times that as a class everyone is fully together getting to do something.
So delivery really signifies the halfway point through our time here at the Institute. We all wear really beautiful gowns and tuxes and go to a stunning place in Boston and celebrate being halfway through MIT and get our ring and take a bunch of really pretty pictures.
When students get their ring at ring delivery, I think it's really amazing that every student can say, there's a little bit of me in that ring. What we do on the committee is that we try to represent every single community and every single background on the ring, so that way students are excited and really feel like they have a home here at MIT.
I think it's the most humbling thing to be given this opportunity to add to MIT's history, and it makes you think a lot about how much you can do and how much the people before you did, and it's really encouraging, but at the same time, it shows you have a long way to go, and I'm excited.
Typically at commencement, the most significant moment is crossing the podium and receiving your diploma. However, at MIT, we like to do things a little bit differently, and one thing that's really unique at graduation is that you flip your bracelet. As an undergrad at MIT, you wear it such that you're always looking at the Boston skyline. At graduation, they tell you to flip your bracelet so that way you can see the Cambridge skyline, specifically MIT's campus.
You know, you're going out into the real world and you're going to use everything that you've learned at this institution, both academically and personally. I think flipping that skyline around just signifies the closing of a chapter here at MIT and the opening of so many new doors once you graduate.
Please raise your right hand. Take off your bracelet and turn it around and let the world know that we are now finally graduates of MIT.
On behalf of Herff Jones, we thank you.
We want to thank the alumni as well as great success to the class of 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Victoria Gonin. I'm the Executive Director of Alumni Relations here at MIT. And I want to thank the representatives, Matt Jens, class of 23 from the Ring Committee, Jeff Kirk from Hirsch Jones, Miri Skolnick from the Arms Coalition, and Stephen Fontone, class of 74, who are here to answer your questions from the audience. Our first question is for Matt. Matt, how much time do students have on the Ring Committee devote to the whole process from start to finish?
Yeah, so basically, we're selected, the entire committee, back in April of our freshman year. And then we work about, I'd say about 6 hours a week. So we have 2 meetings a week, which are about 2 hours. And then we like work in between a little bit too. And then the bulk of our work really is like during the design process during the fall. And then once we are finished with the design process, it gets a little bit lighter, but then we get to plan the really fun events like premiere and delivery. So it's about a year-long process, and we're extending it a little bit this year because we pushed delivery back to the fall. But you know, it's a lot of work, but super rewarding and definitely the most meaningful thing I've done at MIT.
Great, thank you. Jeff, how much is the average brass rat worth in terms of raw materials? If the questionnaire remembers correctly, there were 5 sizes to choose from when they bought their brass rat. So they're guessing there's quite a range in the value.
Yes, so first off, the bezel sizes are extra small, small, medium, and large. And then there are various materials. There are some non-gold materials as well as silver blends, and then the gold. That's where the value is. The gold is 10 karat, 14 karat, and 18 karat. And an 18 karat could have, an 18 karat could have as much as $1,000 of gold value in that.
Good. Mary, will these rings be cheaper for the students than the newly created ones, given that the raw material was supplied?
The benefit is tremendous. And here's how it will benefit actually any student who needs the financial assistance, is that the financial gain from the donated rings will contribute to a fund which will provide the subsidies so that students who cannot afford the rings will all benefit from the melting of these rings because the pool of subsidies will be greater.
Thank you. Jeff, question for you. Do the parents have the opportunity to purchase a keepsake as well when their students purchase the brass rat?
Each year, the Ring Committee also puts together an accessory program, which we do have the accessory program on mitbrassrat.com. So each year the parents can participate, and there are some jewelry items such as necklaces, charms, cufflinks that certainly can be purchased by the parents.
Thank you. Mary, can you share a bit more about the Arm Coalition's mission and why it's so important?
Absolutely, I would be happy to. So in 2017, the Dean for Student Life gave a charge to create a committee, a coalition of key partners around the Institute to help address students struggling with financial hardship. More specifically, in the wake of a survey that came out in 2017 showing that some students struggle with food insecurity, there was a collective effort and intention to make sure that students were aware of campus resources to help with financial hardship. So in 2017, we formed a coalition that consists of about 16 Institute partners from various offices and departments, and including some students who represent
students from low-income backgrounds. And what we do is we make sure that students, undergraduates and graduate students, are aware of resources to help them with anything they might be struggling with, which can include the need for campus housing or free housing, affordable housing for commencement when families come to celebrate their son or daughter's graduation but can't afford hotels. We help arrange for commencement housing. Help with winter clothes for international students from warm climates who don't have a lot of money. We help connect them with winter clothes that are free. Helping with uncovered medical expenses that aren't covered by insurance, things like that, the costs of books. So in addition to all of these things, the ARM Coalition has been truly grateful and honored to be invited to help out with ring subsidies. It was the students, the undergraduate students on the Ring Committee back in 2018 who approached us and said, we want our fellow students who cannot afford rings to have access to them. And we want to make sure that there is a fair and equitable process for them to receive financial assistance. So they asked the ARM Coalition to help dispense these subsidies, to dispense this fund, because we are in position to, one, read information that students share that might be confidential, personal things about their hardships, their family's financial hardships, so that other undergraduates don't have to read this private information. And the ARM Coalition also would be able to help dispense these funds in an equitable way, because we have access to students' financial information in terms of who are the highest need students. We have a list from financial aid of the students, the undergraduates, who are at the highest financial need based on their parents' ability to pay for tuition. And so we make sure that the students with the highest need get the subsidies that they need.
Great, thank you. Matt, I have two questions for you. Without giving too much away, can you divulge anything exciting about this year's ring design?
Yeah, so I can't give any major details away. That'll have to wait till April 19th till premiere, which I'm really excited for. But basically, we try to incorporate details from the past that we really like, and we try to incorporate new details as well. So I'm very excited for how it turned out. And I know the class of 2023 is gonna love it.
Good. And second question that's come in, one of the questions is, I remember just being given my rat in lobby 10. No big deal. The process and the recognition certainly has changed since 1975. What's the history of the delivery ceremony?
Yeah, so it's definitely changed a lot since 1975. So basically we have like a team on our Ring Committee that picks a delivery venue. So in recent years, it's like this big event where we all get dressed up in tuxes and dresses and then basically go to a venue and get our rings there. And there's food there, and we take lots of pictures, and it's really fun. And past venues have been the State Room, JFK Library, ICA. So this year we're hoping to have it in the fall, and we're really excited for that. But definitely it's changed a lot since 1975.
Sounds like it. Stephen, what do you see as what are your future hopes for the Brass Rat Melt project?
Well, I think I really have two great hopes. One was inspired by a conversation I had with the former chairman, John Reed, who was a graduate in 1961. He does not have a brass rat. And the reason he doesn't, that he told me, was that he couldn't afford one. What I'm hoping is that any student that wants a brass rat is able to get a brass rat. And then secondly, to have a tie at the other end, to have perhaps 10 or 20% of those that pass on give their brass rat back to MIT to inspire students in their careers. As you saw earlier tonight, we saw the legacy of many of these individuals in how it was meaningful to them. They kept their brass rats their entire lives. They wanted to give it back to the community. I'm hoping that we're going to have an even larger percentage of donation so that we get back to somewhere to 10 to 20% that actually give their brass rat back to the institution and help students.
Lovely. Jeff, question, do you have a unique or special memory collaborating with the former ring committee that you can share?
Yeah, sure. So each year, like Matt mentioned, there's a lot of work that goes into the art and design process. The committee meets twice a week for about 4 months straight, just purely art and design of the rings. So it's our challenge to put together a physical sample, and each year when I bring that sample the first time to the committee, them seeing it, their faces, the smiles, sometimes tears, that's pretty special. So each year that does bring a lot of happiness to me in my job. But also see that at the ring delivery, that same thing happens when their class gathers together to receive their rings, and opening the boxes and seeing the smiles on their face. It's pretty amazing every single year.
Yeah, sure. That's great. Stephen, question for you. When do alumni typically transfer their rings to the program? While they're still living or after death via will?
In both cases, as you saw it in tonight's program, there are individuals there that gave their rings prior to them passing. For others, it was their estates that passed them on. I think for many of us, we'd love to see the rings before we pass so that we can actually see the benefit in our lifetimes. So I think this is a very personal decision that someone needs to make about the disposition of their rings. In my case, I still hold on to my father's ring. It means a lot to me. I can wear 2 brass rats and be reminded of that. But someday his ring will be incorporated into this legacy. And it is something that is a heartfelt expression for each MIT graduate with a ring.
Matt, question for you. My brass rat has my signature engraved on the inside. Is this still an option for students? Also, when is premiere and delivery?
Yeah, so definitely the signature is still an option on the inside, actually. So the ring committee gets to the samples ahead of time, and mine actually has my signature inside. So it's really neat. And then for premiere, we're having it April 19th. So less than a month away, which we're really excited for. It'll be like basically like a virtual viewing. It's about an hour-long video, and we put a lot of effort into it. So we're excited for everyone to see it. And then for delivery, we're having it. So usually delivery is towards the later part of spring, but we're trying to have it in person this year. So we're putting it in the fall in October. We haven't nailed down a specific day yet, but I think we're hoping to have it in early October.
Will people be dressing up for premiere, even though it's virtual?
I hope so. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Good. Jeff, I have a question for you. I just lost it here. Good. When did Herff Jones become the manufacturer of the brass rat? In the 80s, it was either Jostens or Balfour. And is it possible to replace or upgrade the brass rat when the students graduate?
Yeah, so Herff Jones had a few earlier years in the 80s, even the 70s, and they acquired a company called Digis and Cluss that did many of the real early brass rats. But more recent, Herff Jones has been the manufacturer of the undergrad brass rat since the class of 2015. Oh, in regards to purchasing previous years, I would definitely reach out to the alumni office, and they should have contact information to specific years, and they would be able to pass along that information to you.
Miri, question, how much funding have you raised for the 2021 program, and how does that compare to the pilot year in 2020?
So I'm happy to say that this year there's been a significant increase. It's $17,000 has been donated through the crowdsourcing and through the Ring Melt program. And that's $17,000 compares to last year's $10,000. But there's still a chance to donate.
That's great. Congrats. This is a question for anyone. Maybe we'll start with Stephen. We've seen some brass rat sightings recently in the media, specifically in relation to a new senator from California and many of the engineers on the Mars Perseverance project. Are there other sightings that you can tell us about? We'll start with Stephen and then love to hear from anyone else.
Well, brass rats do show up in unusual places. And I have to say, I recently acquired one from a prop agent in Hollywood who had acquired one for use in a series that only lasted one season. So you really never know where they're going to come from or what you're going to see. But with all of the ones that I have, and I have some rather unusual ones that have stones mounted in them, each one of them has a very interesting story usually to go with them.
Anybody else have any sightings they want to share?
I don't have a sighting to share, but I have an anecdote. An alum who said that, and he was many years out from his undergrad degree, and he said, I get to wear my brass rat into all of my engineering meetings, and at least for the first minute, I feel like I'm known as the smartest person in the room when they see my brass rat.
Great, great. Matt, do you have a favorite memory from the Ring Committee that you can share with us?
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. I mean, we spent a lot of time on Zoom together, but if I had to pick one, we spent like probably 4 months designing the entire ring, and basically then so Herb Jones takes that design and they create the first initial sample. And that sample never mattered. And like seeing it for the first time, and it just being an incredible, basically experience. So I'd say that's probably my favorite memory.
That's great. That's great. This is a question for everyone. Do you foresee a future where the brass rat has embedded electronics?
I'd be happy to answer that. Yes, that's definitely something that is out there and talked about, and I believe has been explored on our high school side, like a heart rate monitor or some other fun things. So I definitely see that as an option in the future.
Stephen, we probably should have started with this question, but the question's just come in. Can you tell us more about how you actually got into collecting the brass rats?
I stumbled across brass rats on eBay, and I thought this was a terrible shame to see what generally was looked upon as something that represented a person's entire career and life reduced to being sold roughly for the value of its gold on eBay. And so I started to buy them in the early 2000s and found that with the ones that I was able to purchase, they all came with an interesting story. That generally if it came from a surviving family member, they were delighted to see that it was sort of kept in the MIT family and someone that might appreciate their mother or father's experience. And one thing led to another. I just started accumulating them, wanted to get one for every decade initially, from the 30s to this decade. And obviously there are more in the older decades than there are in the recent decades that are available on eBay. But over time, people contacted me. I've run an ad in Technology Review, and found that it really resonated with people. Then once I accumulated these, I asked the question, well, what can I do to memorialize and give honor to these individuals? And that, coupled with that visit to West Point, inspired me to contact the Alumni Association. So
glad you did. Mary, can we buy a ring outright for someone?
There are ways of different levels of giving, from what I understand, that can cover different levels of ring. I'm not sure if it can be purchased for a specific person, but it can be correlated to different levels of rings you would like to make available for people. That's what I understand.
Okay. And the second part of that question is, are contributions cash or ring tax deductible?
I believe they are. That's my understanding.
Matt, a commentary says, shouting out to the 2023 Ring Committee for not only being one of the, if not the best ring committee in recent years, but one of the best teams on campus, all while they're in the midst of a pandemic. Applause. Can you tell us more about your unique ring committee experience? Everybody, Matt, wants to know more about this experience.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. But I guess like it's honestly like, so I'm the vice chair, and I worked closely with Ananya, who's the chair, in the beginning to kind of set up an infrastructure for like how we're going to accomplish this task. You know, there's a big responsibility. We want to do a good job for our class. So back in April, we're like, you know, how are we going to do this? And I remember talking with the past vice chair and chair, and they gave us, you know, some suggestions, and but they were operating in totally different worlds. So definitely transitioning to Zoom was really challenging, but we definitely made it work. And Herf Jones was just spectacular with us too. And you know, we were doing the art, like screen sharing over Zoom, and you know, it was just a fantastic experience. So yeah.
Sounds like you've recruited some folks for next year, which is great. Jeff, what's the reason the melted bar was polished if it was going to be used in the future manufacturing process?
Yeah, sure. Really for presentation purposes, and it just coming out of the melt, it just more for presentation.
Okay. And how do we know which ring size to order if we're currently not on campus or overseas?
Sure, we do have tools. We have printable as well as ring sizes that we can mail out, like a plastic ring sizing kit. But we also have online a digital ring sizer. It's called the Herf Jones Right Size. You can find that online, and it is a great way to digitally find your ring size.
Great, thank you. This is our last question. Stephen, I understand you have a ring story to close us out. Will you please share?
Sure. Back on March 31st, 1986, I was in Logan Airport at 4 a.m. in the morning with my wife, waiting to take a charter flight to Bonaire to go scuba diving. And everybody in that line was looking at their feet, wondering why they ever agreed to take a 5 a.m. flight. And I noticed ahead of me in line, about 5 people, was a person with a little bit of energy. And I noticed that he was wearing a brass rat. So I went up to him and I used, you know, MIT code and asked him, "What course were you?" And that immediately identified me as an MIT graduate, and I identified his answer, course 2. We were both wearing brass rats. We were both going to the same place. We scuba dived. We became friends. He had a company down in Cape Cod called Benthos, an oceanographic company that made equipment for ocean exploration. Located on Edgerton Drive. Doc Edgerton was an investor in his company. One thing led to another. I ended up joining their board. We became lifelong friends, and that would not have happened without the Brass Rat. It was a clearly just serendipitous event that led to a lifelong friendship, and Sam is still alive today and proudly wears his brass rat. So this was something enabled by a brass rat.
Wonderful. Great story and great close. Thank you everyone for your participation in the questions and answers and being part of this novel digital event. And thank you for the attendees for those great questions. Don't forget, you can continue to support this project. And we will see you all at next year's Brass Rat Melt. And once again, thank you, Stephen, Mary, the Ring Committee, MIT students, alumni, the Emma Rogers Society, Herff Jones, and all. So thank you and good night.
Thanks for joining us. And for more information on how to connect with the MIT Alumni Association, please visit our website.